Welcome to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets on the Mayo Media Network for Wednesday, April 6th. Not a ton of games on the ice tonight, but most of them are really good ones. Some solid betting options in each game. So we're going to get right to the games here. Before we get started, if you could like and subscribe the video wherever you are listening and or watching. And if you are on YouTube, just leave a comment with your favorite bet of the night. First game of the night is in Winnipeg. We have a big underdog here, the Detroit Red Wings plus 220. They're in Winnipeg. Jets are minus 275 on the money line. And I love this start to the night. I love being able to start off with a big underdog. And I love being able to start it off by targeting the Winnipeg Jets, whose playoff chances, which we already kind of said over the past couple weeks, were pretty slim. Took another really big blow over the weekend. Losses to Toronto and LA. Mathematically, they're not eliminated yet, but basically the Winnipeg Jets are out of the playoff picture now for the season. So with their season pretty much over, I don't expect a big fight from the Jets. Maybe we'll get a last-ditch effort. Maybe we'll see Kyle Connor back. I'm not quite sure what his travel status is. He did test positive for COVID, so I'm not sure if he's allowed back in Canada yet. He was in, I think it was in Buffalo, where he ended up testing positive. So I don't know if he's able to travel back to Canada yet. So that would be another big blow for the Jets. So they haven't even really been that great lately, with or without Connor, knowing that they needed to win to get in the playoffs. They just haven't done it. They just don't have the team defense. The offense is not too bad, but the defense and the goaltending hasn't been good enough this year. So I love the Detroit Red Wings offense to put up numbers here, even though they're probably going to allow a ton of chances coming back the other way. Winnipeg is overall the better team here, but at plus 220, it's a no-brainer bet for me on the Detroit Red Wings. Winnipeg is still being vastly overrated by the books here, and Detroit should not be this large of an underdog. Look for Dylan Larkin to have a good game. Look for Mo Seider on the back end to continue his race for the Calder Trophy. And then we got Lucas Raymond as well. He is also in the mix for the Calder, but likely Seider, Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks are probably too far ahead of him right now for him to have a realistic chance at that trophy. Next game of the night is in Washington. We have the Tampa Bay Lightning. Coming off of a big loss to the Leafs a couple nights ago, they ended up losing 6-2 to Toronto. They are now in Washington, plus 120. Home underdogs are the Washington Capitals. And this is another relatively easy bet for me to make, minus 140 on Tampa Bay. You're not going to see them get whipped like that 2 games in a row. With the playoff races heating up, they want to get positioning in the Atlantic Division. They're going to want home ice in the first round. I just don't think that the Tampa Bay Lightning will allow themselves to get embarrassed a couple of games in a row. Third line's playing really well. They got some of their trade deadline acquisitions there. The fourth line is playing really well. So those bottom 6 forward lines seem to have really solidified themselves. Now it's just kind of a matter of what Tampa Bay wants to do with their top stars. Saw a bunch over the past couple weeks of them trying Steven Stamkos up on the top line with Kucherov and point. Worked pretty well. They got some wins, but I think overall the Tampa Bay Lightning want to balance out the top 6 a little bit more, so we'll likely see Stamkos, Cirelli, and Killorn as we get closer to the playoffs. Andre Palat has usually been Point and Kucherov's winger. That's how it was in the playoffs last year as well when they won the Stanley Cup. I expect that's kind of what they're getting to. Palat did spend most of his time with Kucherov and Point last game against Toronto, so I feel like they kind of needed a spark. They needed to get back winning, so they put Stamkos on the top line, but now they really did settle back into a little bit of a winning streak. Despite the loss to Tampa Bay, they are kind of back on track. So I think that we'll probably see Palat up on that top line with Point and Kucherov. I like both looks, but I think that's the way that they want to go. Washington themselves coming off 2 pretty bad losses to Carolina and Minnesota, so they just don't have a ton of momentum right now. So minus 140 is a great number on Tampa Bay. As usual, I am recording this the day before, so these are the opening lines. I don't know if that number stays that good, but if you see it, that is where I would go. Next game of the night is in Seattle. Not a great game here. We got the Seattle Kraken, it's in St. Louis. We have the Seattle Kraken plus 215 in St. Louis, minus 270 for the Blues. Very streaky team St. Louis has been all year, but when they're at the top of their game, they are really good, and they are clearly on a hot streak right now. They just beat Arizona pretty well a couple nights ago. They beat Calgary, so they've beaten some good teams. They beat Vancouver a couple times before that. They ended up taking the Oilers to overtime as well on their recent road trip, so playing pretty well. The line of choice right now for St. Louis is the Buchnevich, Vladimir Tarasenko, Robert Thomas trio. Great night against Arizona a couple days ago, and they should keep that momentum going. That is one thing we have been on with the St. Louis Blues all year, is just kind of riding their hot scores. Jordan Kyrou was the guy for a while. David Perron recently. This Buchnevich, this line was really hot earlier in the season. So seems like this is the line to go to again now. So we'll ride them in DraftKings. Shot props, goal props, Buchnevich and Tarasenko are the shooters and the scorers on this line. So that is where I would look. Minus 270 on St. Louis is probably a little much to bet on. It's just not that easy to make a ton of money betting on a minus 270 favorite. So I think I'll stay away from the Blues money line and just simply go to the player prop markets with Buchnevich and Tarasenko. Next game is in Vegas. Vegas Golden Knights minus 160 home favorites against Vancouver. Canucks plus 140. This is a rematch of a game from a few nights ago where Vegas ended up beating Vancouver in overtime. They went up early. Vancouver came back and tied it up. Ended up beating the Canucks in overtime. That gave 3 straight losses to the Vancouver Canucks, including that, like I said, that overtime loss where they did manage to get a point against Vegas. Much like Winnipeg, Vancouver could have made an argument that they were kind of in the playoff mix with a good couple weeks stretch, everything going right. They could find themselves being able to fight for a playoff spot, but those 3 losses have effectively ended their season. Vegas similarly needed a lot to go right for them over the past couple weeks, and they did their part. They've won their last 5 games. They had that really long road trip where they didn't get a single point, but they've come back home, played well. They've had a couple good road games as well mixed in. So Vegas is going to need some help from teams like Dallas and Nashville ahead of them if they want to pass those guys. But to their credit, they're doing their part. They're winning their games. They've been particularly effective at home. And with this game being in Vegas, I think this is a great line on the Vegas Golden Knights and a great spot to make some money. Jack Eichel's playing really well with Chandler Stevenson and Dadonov. Shea Theodore scored a bunch in the last couple of games. I think he was the guy who got the overtime winner against Vancouver the other night. So he's starting to score again. That top line's playing well. Jonathan Marchessault, as usual, is just shooting the puck a ton. So lots of different options for the Vegas offense. They're still missing a ton of their great players, but they are finding ways to get wins right now. So that is what they need to do to get themselves back in the playoff mix. Not sure if Logan Thompson or Robin Lehner is going to get the start here, but both have been playing pretty well. Lehner just hasn't played in a while coming off of injury. So I do like the Vegas Golden Knights regardless of who they play in net. Last game of the night is in Anaheim. We have the Ducks plus 205 at home against the Calgary Flames. Flames minus 255 on the money line. And when I talk about the Detroit plus 220 number being kind of off, this is kind of a game that I would reference to kind of explain why I think Detroit is in a better position. So you got the Anaheim Ducks plus 205 at home. So I'll give them that, they are at home. But they've only won once in the past couple of weeks. They don't have anything going right now. They're giving up a ton of goals. They're not scoring a ton. They traded a bunch of their players away at the deadline. So the team clearly not really even attempting to win games right now. And they're playing against Calgary, second best team in the Western Conference right now, just playing really strong. Calgary plays really well on the road. So we got the Anaheim Ducks plus 205 against Calgary. And then deeper odds, we have plus 220 on the Detroit Red Wings, playing a worse team in the Winnipeg Jets. The Red Wings have been playing better than the Ducks of late. So just the plus 220 number on Detroit doesn't make sense when you compare it with plus 205 on Anaheim. So that would be why I consider the Detroit Red Wings underdog play to be a really good bet in this one, just to be probably a correct line. Where Calgary at minus 255 probably should win this game, but at that number, they're just too hard to make any money on. They did have a solid comeback win over LA on Monday, ending a small losing streak, and they'll be looking to keep that momentum going here in Anaheim. First note that I will make is on the Ducks side. Captain Ryan Getzlaf, he announced that he is retiring after the season. He's had a great career with the Ducks, ton of good moments earlier this year. There was a stretch for a couple weeks where it seemed like every other game he was either hitting a games played milestone, a points milestone, setting a new Ducks franchise record for points or goals, whatever it may be. Getzlaf seemed to be hitting all those milestones earlier this year, so he's won his cup, kind of checked all those boxes off earlier, so it seems like he is satisfied with his career, had a really strong season. Unfortunately for him, the team's fallen out of playoff contention, but still a strong end to a great career for Getzlaf. He's been a key member of the Ducks for years, and like I said, did win that cup back in 2006 with Anaheim. For tonight, Calgary poses a really strong test. They play a really strong road game. Top line continues to come up with dominant performances every single night. Like I mentioned, Anaheim just that one win in the past couple of weeks. So this is a team that's not going to be able to keep Calgary from scoring. They don't have enough offense beyond Trevor Zegras to really do any damage against the Calgary Flames. Should be a solid win for Calgary to end the night. As always, thank you guys for watching. We will have Jake to take you guys through Thursday's games, and then DJ will finish off the week on Friday. Good luck.